and they sent down 7 police officers. We've been out of the house since 7 o'clock in the morning, sharing our gifts and feeding the poor. And this is the instructions they received to do this to us. And we still didn't finish for the day. We still have more toys to share out. And instead of doing that, instead of spreading cheer to the children, we got to go to the police station for a vehicle inspection. Being escorted to the Providence Police Station right now to do a full inspection of the vehicle on Christmas Day.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
You don't want the insurance?
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are opening up a stack of documents that detail, well, a confrontation that sounds a lot less like Christmas cheer and a lot more like political theater. Picture this. It's Christmas Day. A charitable effort is underway delivering toys, hot meals. But instead of quiet community work, that team ends up being tracked, apparently by state security, stopped by police, and then having their vehicle impounded.
It is a pretty extraordinary set of claims. We're deep diving into an update provided by Azruddin Mohamed, the Win Party leader. His source material details a direct collision between the state apparatus, specifically the police, and his sister, Hana Mohamed, during what was supposed to be, a simple holiday charity event.
And the source is just full of these specific, highly charged allegations of political persecution. So our mission today is really to impartially unpack these claims. We want to focus entirely on the sequence of events as they're described. And there's a fundamental conflict we have to address here.
Oh, absolutely. The source asserts total legal compliance, yet the vehicle was forcibly impounded. That's the real tension we're navigating today.
So we're tracing the full thread of the claims made here, from the initial surveillance right up to the police station, to understand exactly what the Win Party claims happened, and I guess why they're calling it persecution.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the context of the day, the positive side of it, and where the team was focused.
Right. The initial context is important because it really establishes the activity that was allegedly being targeted. The source states very clearly that the Win team, which was led by Mrs. Hana Mohamed, was engaged in community goodwill. They were completing a Santa toy and hot meals distribution in 3 distinct areas: Agricola, Alexander Village, and Albouystown.
So pure charity on a public holiday.
Exactly. A completely public, visible, and positive activity.
But according to the source, this Santa delivery was being watched, and not just by, local well-wishers. It seems police involvement, or rather state monitoring, began much earlier than the actual physical stop.
And that's where the narrative takes a very sharp turn. The source claims that based on credible reports, the PPP government instructed the police to stop Mrs. Mohamed. And this instruction, it manifested early in the form of tracking.
Tracking?
Yes. Specifically, a special branch car was actively following the Win team while they were handing out the meals and toys in Albouystown.
Okay, so sir, our listener who might not be familiar with that term, when the source says special branch, what kind of entity are we talking about here? What's the implication?
That's a crucial bit of context. The special branch, it typically functions as a security intelligence wing. It's usually focused on matters of state security, anti-terrorism, high-level stuff.
Not toy drives.
Not toy drives. So the source uses this detail to suggest the level of state resource being dedicated to this was, in their view, disproportionately high, that it was a political operation, not just standard traffic monitoring.
Following a charity event with intelligence surveillance, that definitely sets the stage for the party's persecution claims. And this surveillance allegedly led to a pretty surprising anecdote about the officers involved.
It did. The source provides this very specific and kind of humanizing detail. One of the men in that special branch car reportedly complained aloud.
Complained about what?
He apparently said they were, and I'm quoting, sick and tired of doing this and being called out even on Christmas Day just to follow the opposition leader.
Wow. So that quote, cited in the source, it seems to serve one purpose: to reinforce the Win Party's claim that the police themselves felt the task was purely political.
And operationally draining, even disruptive to their own holidays, yes.
So the surveillance is active, the charity wraps up in Albouystown, and then Then the official intervention happens.
Precisely. The source states that as soon as Mrs. Mohamed pulled out of Albouystown, police on the East Bank Public Road were, quote, alerted to look out for the vehicle and to stop her.
And when they finally made that stop, what did the document checks reveal? I mean, if they were instructed to stop the vehicle, you'd assume they were looking for some kind of violation.
Well, the source is absolutely emphatic on this point. It claims that the police found no fault whatsoever. It says that upon initial review, all documents, insurance, registration, inspection, all of it was found to be fully compliant and up to date.
So no legal violation.
Seemingly zero. In fact, initially the interaction appeared to be resolved pretty positively. The source notes that a police inspector even gave Mrs. Mohamed permission to take the children, who were still on board, home.
And even escorted them.
Okay,
that sounds like a responsible, standard conclusion to a routine stop. That apparent resolution didn't last long, did it?
No. The reversal is immediate and stark, and the party attributes it directly to external pressure. Shortly after that initial positive interaction, the source states that several additional police vehicles arrived in the street with a wheel clamp upon instruction.
Additional vehicles, a wheel clamp, and a complete overruling of the inspector's decision. This escalation is attributed directly to an external instruction.
Right. And the source is careful to include a personal detail here that really anchors the reality of this disruption.
What's that?
They do. It's a very effective rhetorical technique. The source notes that Mrs. Mohamed is a breastfeeding mother away from my baby for more than 10 hours, and she ended up feeding her baby while her elderly father and husband drove the vehicle with police escort to the station.
So it turns this sort of abstract political move into a very tangible personal inconvenience on Christmas.
Exactly.
So despite the initial verification, the source says all documents were presented, scrutinized, and verified. What was the final outcome when the vehicle got to the station?
It was impounded. Despite all the claims of compliance, the lack of any initial offense, the police unlawfully impounded the vehicle at the Providence Police Station until Monday.
Which brings us back to that central conflict.
Yeah.
How can a vehicle be impounded if all its paperwork is perfect?
And the party's attorney, according to the source, emphasized this very contradiction, stating the police are not authorized to detain the vehicle for no apparent reason.
Okay, so this sets the stage for the administrative aftermath. Mrs. Mohamed, as the driver, was initially told to report back to the police station on Saturday, so the day after Christmas.
But that schedule didn't hold. And according to the party, this is just further evidence of this behind-the-scenes coordination.
Tell us about that change.
The instruction to report on Saturday was changed to Monday. And the source specifically links this delay to the officer involved, who was apparently seen making phone calls to his superiors before he gave them the new date.
So if everything was compliant, why the need for the officer to call superiors and push everything to Monday? What does the party imply is happening here?
Well, the implication is that the process was being dictated not by police procedure, but by political timing. The party suggests the police were waiting for specific instructions on, how to proceed now that a standard offense couldn't be used. This sequence, the phone calls, the delay, it suggests ongoing external coordination, that the actual decision to charge or not was still pending from above.
And this threat of future charges seems to follow that exact pattern of external command. The source reports Mrs. Mohamed is now being told that if instructions come from above to charge her for something, she will have to appear in court.
It's a profound threat, both politically and legally. I mean, they're being threatened with legal action based on a hypothetical instruction from above, not a documented violation from the stop.
And the source is very clear that she's prepared for that.
Yes, very clear that she's prepared to attend with every document in hand, maintaining that there was, quote, no offense.
If we look at this from a strategic perspective, what does that legal confidence tell us? Is the win party almost inviting a confrontation in court?
That's a great observation. By proactively stating that all documents are compliant and they're ready to meet any charge, the win party is basically setting up a high-stakes legal test case. If the police proceed with a charge, it forces the state to legally defend an action that the opposition is already labeling as politically motivated persecution. Their confidence suggests they think they have the upper hand, evidentiarily, in court.
Right, turning the whole thing into a public challenge to the police's mandate.
Exactly.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Let's look at the political framework the Win Party leader puts over all of this. Given this detailed sequence, the shadowing, the impoundment, the delayed charges, how does the party explicitly label this whole thing?
Oh, the labeling is not subtle at all. The Win Party leader explicitly concludes that this incident is political harassment and political persecution. They draw a very clear line, arguing that this action is coming from the very top.
And they reinforce that source of command using some very specific politically charged language.
They do. The source attributes this action specifically to the playbook of the president, identifying him as Irfan, and states that the actions are directed by the dictatorship PPP government.
So it's a very direct framing of the entire police operation as a high-level political tool.
Yes, meant to intimidate or disrupt rivals.
Now, there's a key detail here that kind of complicates this top-down narrative, and that's the observed reaction of the executing officers on the ground.
This is a crucial element. It adds a layer of complexity to the narrative, distinguishing the alleged command from the execution. The source notes that the rank-and-file officer showed, internal conflict. It says, most of the policemen were extremely sympathetic, shaking their heads, and embarrassed to do this.
So that observed reaction really supports the party's claim that this was an instruction divorced from standard police work, that it was imposed from outside.
Exactly. It suggests operational friction, that the officers themselves recognize the task as politically motivated rather than, legitimate law enforcement. It paints a picture where the police force is being used to carry out directives that even the officers find ethically or procedurally questionable.
And finally, how does the party wrap up this public statement?
With defiance. Specifically directed at the community whose charity day was interrupted.
Right.
The statement ends with this public declaration of resilience and a commitment to their mission. Directed at the children, they state, "We are still coming to complete the toy distribution. They may delay us, but they cannot stop us." It strategically uses the state's alleged disruption as a rallying point.
So let's try to pull this together. What does this all mean? We've absorbed a highly detailed, very personal account from the opposition alleging political persecution, orchestrated from the top. This resulted in a vehicle being impounded despite the party's insistence on perfect legal compliance, all set against the backdrop of a Christmas Day charity event. The source material is really a document of conflict. It's pitting legal verification against what they call arbitrary enforcement.
I think the core insight here is the alleged focus of state power. It raises a really important question about government priorities. The source provides a picture where high-level state resources, we're talking special branch surveillance, multiple police units, superior officer intervention, are all allegedly focused not on serious matters of state, but on actively tracking and disrupting a rival party's charitable activities on a major public holiday.
And the source itself draws that parallel explicitly. It asserts that the president has serious matters of the state at hand that need urgent attention, yet he has the police running down the opposition on Christmas Day. The resources deployed and the context of the activity just seem fundamentally misaligned if the goal was purely law enforcement.
It forces you to consider prioritization and accountability. If these claims are true, state institutions are being utilized to manage political rivalry, which potentially diverts time and resources from genuine public safety concerns simply because it was the opposition conducting a toy drive.
Indeed. So here is a provocative closing thought for you to consider. If the state's security and law enforcement resources are deployed to monitor and impound a compliant vehicle being used for charity on a holiday, what does the deployment of state resources look like to you when the alleged offense is completely overshadowed by the claim of purely political motivation? What's the true cost when political rivalry allegedly bleeds into the public functions of our state institutions? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.